Hi guys, welcome to this channel. My name is Laura from PlayEatingHealer.com, and today we're going to continue our Psychic Insight series, which kind of stopped around March, I think. But before that, I want to share something with you, so let's just go right here. If you're new to this channel, welcome to everyone who is new. Welcome back to everyone who's been watching for the past 4+ years or so. Can't believe it's been so long. This is the second attempt at having a channel on YouTube, by the way. So if you're new, there's this playlist called New to This Channel, start here. And then there's also Reviewing New Ages, the New Age Trap, which I think at this point has like 30-something videos. People are emailing me or commenting, and I know they're new. There's a lot of your questions are going to be answered in these two playlists. Okay, so it might take a little bit of time to dig through it, but if you really want the answers, I think they're pretty much answered in a lot of the videos out there already. And that's what I wanted to just announce real quick, because there are other playlists too, like the Psychic Insight, the live streams, all of that. So you can just kind of dig through that, obviously. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and share more insights, but strange having to switch back and forth like this. Okay, so the last time we had 4 videos on it already, and we dug through the Akashic records, whether or not they're a program, the artificial sun. We had the Great Floods, different timelines, mirrors, anchors, souls, and a video on soul contracts and other things. So I'll link them all here. They should pop up when you watch this video. And those are going to be kind of the videos that came before this one. We're going to continue our Psychic Insight. So these are questions that came from my members, by the way. And we're going to dig through, this one. What is the aging program? Out of body experiences, also known as OBE, memory blocks, and a few more things. Beforehand, I actually wanted to go through this one question that I got. So someone asked, how old is Earth? I found that really interesting. Might be something to dig through in a future video. Okay, because I think Earth in and of itself, we're kind of in this reality, in this realm. And I have a video on the 6th reset, which that was mentioned in one of the Matrix videos. So we're obviously in different places overall, and whether or not we're like underground and all of that, which is like the cave reality, which, by the way, the cave reality was actually mentioned by the mainstream. So I put a video up on my TikTok, I think that was a few weeks ago, where this documentary was talking about exploring huge underground caves in Vietnam. And believe it or not, there's like steps and stairs already carved in these unexplored underground caves, like very, very mysterious, obviously, completely impossible, as we know. So I think they're just giving us clues to whether or not we really are in this cave reality or somewhere underground. And when people are talking about maybe the firmament, which is the sky, maybe that's like water altogether. So things are just really inverted and not what they're telling us, right? And it's also funny because my throat is blocking up while I'm saying all this, and they put a lot of psychic blocks on a lot of these topics, by the way. So it's no surprise that's happening either. Okay, so first question, are we able to reshape time, past, present, future? Are we able to create our future and change our past, such as past lives? Are we able to change our past? Yes, absolutely. You can actually even change your past life, believe it or not. So what I got, because I also work with the tarot cards in order to determine an answer here, because you get so many psychic blocks. We got the Devil card, which is a no, and then we got the World card, which is a yes. And what I got from that is they don't want us to know. In a form, we are able to reshape our past when we go back, and also the way we feel about those things. For example, if we experience something traumatic, like a dog bite, working through that trauma, not feeling resentment towards that situation or that person. But the devil, so I'm going to say the devil wants you to basically feel all those things. They want you to feel anger, resentment. The devil wants you tied up in the past so that you don't have to experience your fears over and over again. but we have to find a balance between reshaping our past. They will throw a lot of distractions at us so that we won't even be able to focus on how to do so. And I know most of us are noticing that, you know, I'm talking about all the distractions they're throwing at me in everyday life. I know with other people, it's even more extreme. Can we reshape our past? Yes. If we really focus if we're focusing on being in between two worlds, we can find the healing, and that is so the healing power, our ability to do the self-healing part, which a lot of people who are coming from the new age don't really understand. You know, I still get some emails which are really in this victim mentality. They're still looking for a guru and this one-off, you know, oh, I need a healing session with you and then all my problems are going to be solved, like all my schizophrenia, all my cancer, everything's going to be, it doesn't work that way. You're on a self-healing journey and you're going to be on that journey for life, if not even lifetimes, obviously. And so what you need to do is really empower your own self. You know, like I've dealt with chronic illnesses. I've even dealt with something as severe as a cancer diagnosis, everything in my own life. So I know that we have the ability to self-heal ourselves. Okay. And a lot of people don't want you to know that. Obviously, the ones that are still in pharma, meaning like the medical personnel, at least the ones that aren't holistic. So they really don't want you to have any power over your own body, your own reality, your own life. But once you actually are able to see it from that viewpoint, things are going to make more sense. And you're also going to be more empowered to do the self-healing part. So we can find healing, and that is going to be our biggest power, because when we heal our past, we become the most healed version we can be right now. And I'm sure everyone notices that too, the way we react as a hurt teenager, as opposed to the way we react to things now. If you kind of go back and look at how you were reacting to things as a very young adult, assuming you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or 30s now, you'll see a huge difference, obviously. And a lot of that does have to do with us simply maturing and growing up. They say the frontal lobes don't even fully develop until you're 25 to 30 years old. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. But a lot of it also has to do with introspection and you literally reacting differently to things. Assuming you're doing the work, you know, mind you, I knew people, like I was in my 20s, I knew people who were in their 30s or 40s who were still acting like immature teenagers. So of course that happens too. But for people who are really doing the work, which I'm assuming people are when they follow these topics, you know, spirituality, everything, you will notice the difference and you are able to become the most healed version of yourself. Are we able to reshape time? Yes, time is a deception. It's a lot of hard work. It can also leave us hanging around. So time kind of ties into the entire aging program, which we'll discuss right after this one, because time is kind of kept within us somehow in our body and our DNA and everything. So when they're trying to mess with our time, you can also appear older overnight, basically. It can leave us hanging around. You know how I always talk about when you have 1 minute and you're so busy and distracted, it almost feels like 1 second, whereas you have 1 minute or 1 hour, it stretches into an entire day. So time is something they're having around us to keep us trapped in this reality somehow, or their own system, their own machine that they have here. It's probably all ties into the entire machine that's created around us. They're controlling time, all of that. Also be careful what you wish for, maybe focus on the future. If these concepts are too much for you now, don't take up too much that you can handle. Everything is playing out in the parallel. So we don't really have past, future, present. They're all kind of right next to us. You know, when I tap into a lot of my own past lives, it's almost like they're happening in a parallel reality. And if you see it that way, you'll understand things from that standpoint in a better way too. Also new beginnings. So it's hard work to reshape time. New journeys ahead. We are time masters, but there's also chess moves. It could also be easier in a community together to do that. There's certain moves that we have to make, like chess moves. We can definitely reshape time for our childhood. You know, if we look back now and it's not going to hurt us anymore. Also being in nature, is really going to help with all of this, just kind of staying grounded through all of this. It might feel it's a sacrifice when people passed away or it's too hurtful. Something with sacrifice. So these are notes I wrote down a few months ago, by the way. Okay, is aging a program? I feel it is some sort of Illuminati program to keep us down. Whatever has been keeping us down that can make us look older, slow and steady. It's hard to evade it in the way they have us looped in right now, but we do have a rebirth cycle. And this kind of reminds me of talking to someone about a year ago. And she was in her 50s, I think. And she was telling me how she felt so much younger now than she had ever when she was in her 20s or 30s. So that's a form of rebirth we experience throughout our lives. And she could even feel it in her pictures, when she looked at pictures of herself now and pictures when she was younger. So we can have different rebirths in our lifetimes, and we can feel rejuvenated, and it can have a multitude of reasons. For example, when people fall in love, they say that a new love is like a new life. That's a German phrase, by the way. But I think it makes sense in English too. So it kind of means when you fall in love with someone new, it almost feels like a rebirth, a new life phase, the honeymoon phase. There are multiple points in our lives where we can feel reborn. Love is a huge part of it. Or also if you are a grandparent and you have grandkids all of a sudden, it kind of gives them the life back, the meaning back into their life. So you kind of see that in those type of intergenerational situations too. Conflict can cause aging. Anyone who's ever been in a relationship where it's just one conflict after another, it's like one argument, one fight, it's always a constant war at home. I think you can agree with that. It's fighting a lonely war, but we are spiritual beings. We can stand in our truth and power. They're throwing a lot at us. And there's also, so this is another German term, worry wrinkles. In German, it's Sorgenfalten. You have wrinkles. It's typically around your mouth and your eyes because you're so worried or angry. When you're being angry, sad, and depressed, the negative emotions can cause aging to a certain degree. As cliche as it sounds, your emotions play a lot into your physical body and how they can actually cause aging. So the past 3 years have shown a lot how people have aged. I've seen it in my own life, especially with men. I don't know why with men specifically, but I've seen people around my age, which is still pretty young. All of a sudden, seemingly overnight, they turned from vibrant brunette to a gray, and I'm like, what? You're still like in your 30s and you basically look like you're in your 50s or 60s. And it always kind of wondered, I was always, a bit confused about that, why it's more with men than women. But I guess with women, you could see it. I guess they just dye their hair or whatever. So a lot of younger people seem to have aged overnight. Obviously, also older people or whatever you want to call them. So the past 3 years have thrown a lot at us. And I think they've aged people, especially the ones that were under financial hardships or that really didn't know what was going on. So it's really important to stay more positive than negative and to stay in that positivity for multiple reasons. And then I got the Magic and Holy Mountain card, which is basically spirituality. The more we are in touch with our own soul and spirituality, the more it can actually make us look younger. And I've kind of noticed that with my own self too, you guys probably know what age I am. Like I'm in my 30s. And when I look back onto when I was like 20, 21, or in my 20, like 25, 26, 25 for me was a very tough time. I had like a quarter life crisis. It was the worst time in my life. I was in this really toxic relationship that was basically going nowhere. And it was just awful. I had this job that I hated, it was a very toxic environment. And when I look back onto those pictures, specifically that time frame, I'm like, wow, you look older than you do now. And I also feel it's because I wasn't really in touch with my own spirituality. I've been doing this spiritual work since 2014 on. I've had Pleiadian healers since 2017 and on. And I do really think the more you actually dig through these concepts, the more you actually dig through the soul concept, the spiritual concept, it can actually make you look younger or rejuvenated because you just become more wholesome and more in touch with your real self, as opposed to people are always like, getting Botox injections or like lip fillers or whatever else is in right now. I don't know. I mean, to each their own, obviously. I really don't know what's in, but I do know people who are in their 20s already, they're getting all that stuff, and it's basically like freezing their entire face. They can't even smile. So it's just a weird culture we're growing up in right now. So believe in the magic. We are able to look younger again. I also feel 33 is a magical age. Whenever, you know, back then when I was in my 20s and I had friends turning 33, I always told them it's a great age. It's an amazing number. It's a tipping point of discovering your own magic somehow in life. This is more for people who are on the spiritual path. I do want to point this out. If you're 33 and you're still drinking alcohol and partying, it might not be the case for you. There's something with the number 33. You know, they say that Joshua was crucified around the age of 33. I think it was more 36, but there's something that they're pushing with the 33 number. And I don't think it's a satanic way, by the way. I think that's really a magical number. Maybe people also use magic to stay younger, such as the elites. You all know the horrendous stuff the elite kind of uses, you know, with the children and all of that. We don't have to discuss it in this video. So there could be a multitude of reasons they're throwing this hardship at us so that we are older and age more. And if we're not aware of it, we will age more. But once you kind of just stop and discover your own connection to your soul and spirit and discover you are in control of how you look and feel, you will have a better time with that and stop aging. There's also this thing called facial massages, which supposedly help. So that might be something some people want to look into. It's a natural way to work with your skin. So it's literally just massaging certain parts of your faces. But yeah, like everything, you know, just like the same with creams and massages, all of that, you kind of have to do it on a regular basis, meaning every day, to see a result. So if you do it one time and it doesn't really work, obviously, that doesn't say much. Okay, why do people look old? Then a person asks, why do people look older than they do? Why did people back in the days, like 2000 years ago, look older than they do now? And this was more in reference to like physical bodies and the biblical times. So physical bodies are in countless ways engineered to imprison us as much as possible. Once we become aware of that, you know, also that our water, everything is infiltrated, we can change it with our mindset, the power of our mind, using imagination and visualization techniques. And we just have to believe in our own magic powers. Also, detoxes really help. You know, once I started doing all these detoxes that I started talking about on this channel, the better you actually feel and the less diseases you're going to attract to your body as well, because your immune system's going to be much stronger. So the more we practice it, the better. The more we practice it, the better it gets. All your imagination, the most powerful tool is going to be your imagination. There are certainly still people nowadays who turn 100 plus years old. Sometimes you hear about those in the news, by the way, but not too frequently, because they always want to push the certain age on people. Like back then, maybe 50 years ago, it was like, oh, people are going to die in their 60s or 70s, which is basically nothing, right? And nowadays it feels the news always reports about 80-year-olds who die, or, you know, you always die around 70 or 80. So people are fully capable of living 100 years old and older. My grandparents are in their 90s at this point, and they're doing pretty good. You know, they don't have a walker or anything. They don't have anything in their body, like no hearts. You know, the heart too, they sometimes gives the men or whatever. They don't have anything, and they're pretty good right now. I'm not saying that's like the average of what people should be at this point, but it's definitely possible. So I do think like genes definitely play a role in that, but I feel it's just the entire media also hyping certain ages that, oh, once you're 80, it's okay that you pass away. It's all a part of programming they're throwing at us. So we are able to bypass all this engineered stuff. We can still turn older than they want us, 90 plus years. This kind of reminds me of my German friend who's pretty ignorant, but she's been a friend since high school. And when I visited Germany last summer, she was basically telling me, oh yeah, everyone will get cancer. The media said so. And, you know, when you get older, you will get cancer. It's just the way our society is nowadays. This is not normal thinking. You know, I don't know where she even got that from. She must watch news 24/7, but I don't think having cancer is normal at all. So they're putting a mindset on us, and we have to disagree with that. Why did people look older a few hundred years ago? Because they worked so much. There was also world wars thrown at us, the stress of life. I'm not sure they looked older than they do now 2000 years ago. When there's a lot of hard work, like hard physical labor involved, people are obviously going to look older because they're kind of weathering the conditions outside, you know, the sun and all of that, unless you kind of work away from the midday sun. They were holding a lot of responsibility, or thought they did. So people seemed more responsible back then. They had a more mature mindset. There's also slower rewards. So when people are saying right now in this lifetime, we're actually seeing rewards pretty much right away or after a few years. But back then, it seems like it took forever to manifest anything in that reality. And maybe people also drank more back then. You know, the attitude of drinking alcohol carried on to now. You definitely see that in certain cultures. Like when I was in Australia, everyone was drinking, and I felt it came from the British culture. And in Great Britain, you had this issue with binge drinking. I'm not sure you still have it, but like 10, 15 years ago, it was definitely all over the news. And of course, here in the US, everywhere, you know, like drinking was always pushed onto me and my generation in Germany too. So yeah, obviously it's this entire, oh, drinking's normal. Of course, you need to have a drink when you're 16, 17, 18. Like that was a legal age in Germany. You can drink when you're 16. So we started drinking when we were 14, which that is not normal. You know, it's really not normal. Your entire body is still developing. So drinking is just what they did. They literally had to be off one day during the week to nurse the hangover. I forgot which day, if it was Saturday or Sunday. Right now, we don't have to deal with going into the farm fields and working hard labor, or maybe having to drum away towards another person's beat. So you know, right now, a lot of people are actually able to just kind of have their own stuff going on, like their own business, their own company, all of that, or just being a freelancer. So being in your own power definitely also kind of has an effect on all of this. Okay, let's move on to out-of-body experiences. Is practicing out-of-body a very bad idea? It depends on the person. Maybe death is also a form of OBE. What I keep getting is try to stay in your body. You know, all these programs are throwing at us, like the suicide program is a huge one, by the way, because they want you out of this matrix reality. But when you commit that, like when you try to take your own life, you're going to be most likely so traumatized that you're just going to go straight into their hands again and just be reincarnated again. So try to stay in this body. Do something like shamanic journeying. So I teach shamanic journeying in a lot of my classes. You can take a look on my website. Don't try to detach yourself from your body. Clearing childhood wounds, I think, is the most important for a lot of people. Out-of-body experiences could invoke tower moments and kind of hinder standing in your own power. And I keep getting we're a time master, and we have to liberate ourselves from the idea that these entities are going to enter, or maybe you have to become a time master and stay grounded. So what someone commented was, I think the Astral Realm is the first one we enter before death, or when we die. And so it's important to get acclimated to it before we die, and we will have a much higher potential to get out of this SHIT show. But I kind of feel you can practice that without really getting fully out of your body, because the danger with out-of-body experiences is, depending on how you do it, you can have these walk-in scenarios where parts of your soul is being pushed to the side, and all of a sudden this other entity takes over. Or where, you know, this is what people do when they channel and everything, they just kind of have this entity fully take over. And so you want to make sure that you're in full control of your body and your own soul. So I think there are other ways to practice it or to get acclimated to the astral realm. What I also want to point out, and I might have a separate video on this, is that I would say since like 2017, 2018 on, but definitely from 2020 on, the astral realm has become a real festering reality. I mean, I've never seen it as bad as now. Just the attacks, everything that's in it, you know, the AI is really pushing it onto a lot of people. And I think that's also why so many people are drawn to this channel and the psychic protection course and everything, because it is worse now than I've ever seen it before. You know, it's worse now than I've ever seen it 5 years ago or 6, 7 years ago. And so if you just don't really have much experience in any of these things, like astral travel, everything, you might very well end up with a whole bunch of these entity attachments, which you kind of want to avoid. But there are other ways to do it, like shamanic journeying is always a surefire way, and other things too. Are there genetic blocks hidden in our DNA? It's possible. It's definitely related to our past lives. Not for everyone, but for some people, there are these genetic blocks. You can heal your own DNA. You can leave your past behind and the baggage that they wanted to throw at you. But there's more to it. And it's really not that easy to read on this specifically. Maybe there are traumas from other lives that are keeping us up in this reality too. Are they blocking our memories with Wi-Fi EMF? Yes, they are using a frequency, alpha waves, to block them. And this is more like memories from past lives and all of that too. So I think this all ties into the matrix machine, which we kind of discussed in the last video, or like a few videos down. There's a reason we are embodied in this body right now. We need to be fully present in this body. That's why we're not supposed to ask spirit guides, misguides, entities around us, astral projection, everything. It does not mean we are not somewhere else too, like on a ship, like in this Matrix movie. So I feel we're kind of like in these different realities simultaneously. But the physical body, which you might call an avatar or whatever, is one of the most important in the Matrix game somehow. And that's why they're not saying, that's also what they're not saying in any of these movies, that the body is really important. There's like a link missing. We're somehow plugged in and playing in this virtual reality game and playing here, but we only remember here. So it's weird to explain, but it's very crucial we stay present in this body right now and live our life empowered without asking these beings for advice. We are being mind wiped. We can have our memories blocked from us. Is memory loss a symptom of being in this world? Everything's kind of controlled. Call it by whoever controls this game. We also got the Devil card, which could be alluding to the Hell Realm. So the Hell Realm's kind of right below us somehow. So they could be controlling a whole lot. Are we in the Hell Realm? No, we're not. You know, I got people who are all upset about, are we in a soul trap or not? If you think you're in a hell realm, you probably want to change something in your life. Maybe watch less YouTube videos, less truth or content, because actually life in and of itself is quite beautiful. You know, if you just go out there, go for a swim in the ocean, and you still feel you're in a hell realm, there's some psychological stuff going on with you, which you might want to heal first. And I know it's just very triggering for people who are like, and I feel it's part of the victim mentality over and over again. You know, like people always like to complain, but they never want to change something about their reality. And I'll quote something at the end of this video because I posted that on my Instagram. So in order to move on, we need to leave something in the past. Things are stretching over time. We're reincarnating over and over again in action. This entire world is forcing us to be inactive somehow, the world that is created around us. There are many answers and paths to this. We have to have faith in our own capabilities and power, and believe in what we believe in, and really trust the insight we're getting is true as well. Okay. So this is a lot, you know, when people first start off with all these, they're like, I don't know if this is my real insight or just random stuff. So at one point you just got to trust and have trust in your own self. So I want to close this off with a very interesting question that came from another person. And he was asking, did we forget ourselves? But what he actually asked first was, are we ever forgotten about? And this is from the perception of gods or any plane. Did someone forget us in this game? So what I got was the Two of Wands. We're choosing our direction path ahead, which is also a new beginning. Did someone forget us in this game? I felt that just wasn't the right way to ask the question. There's more to this picture than we're getting. We can choose whatever, we create our lives, we can choose this new direction. We also got the Hermit card, which is basically hermiting away, being closed off to the world. I feel we forgot about our own divinity, our own radiance. And we have had a couple of resets. So that's going back to, you know, watch the video, the 6th reset. Are we on that? Resets over the lifetimes. Did we forget ourselves in the game? When we as people come together and we have that soul connection to them. So when we have this soul group, some of them came in with their soul group, the game gets easier. This could be people from the past returning, we're reincarnating over and over again, then we kind of have to find each other again. I feel the gods don't really matter because, first of all, I do feel we are gods embodied in a form or another, at least the souls. And because it's also about creating our own lives. We have to get out of our victim mentality. If you're still in that, which I know some people watching this obviously still are, because I still get some comments on it. Make sure you build out your own kingdom, empire, whatever it is you want to have. It's a slow progress, but a steady progress. Time is also being slow. So I feel once we get out of the victim mentality, we can create the abundant life, but it will take time. And also collaborations with others are important. Don't dim your light. Did we forget ourselves somehow? When we're isolated from others, we are blindfolded. We feel isolated from one another when we actually are kind of all together in this, which is a reminder. So we are these separate beings, obviously, but we're also in this together somehow. They mind wiped us. And in isolation and separation, we are blindfolded. But when we solve the puzzle pieces together, we are good and we make progress. And by group, it was almost like 2+ people. So we're better in a group, it appears. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say on that. And then I just want to kind of paraphrase something that I put on my Instagram. People don't want your help unless they ask for it. Something I had to personally realize over the years is that pushing help onto people does absolutely nothing. On the contrary, they won't even appreciate your kindness and perhaps do the exact opposite from the advice you are freely providing. Unless people explicitly ask for it, you can play the Good Samaritan all day long. Your efforts and words will go into one ear and out the next. Perhaps these efforts are seen by these people. You know, they kind of see, oh yeah, you gave me advice, but probably never in the same light you offer your advice. And oftentimes it is even the people closest to you who will underappreciate you or even refuse your help, such as friends, family, your partner. As empaths, healers, and space holders, we are naturally conditioned to jump in and carry the burden of others, to feel the pain of others, to be of service to others, and to hold space where we see it's needed. It takes a lot to pull away from our natural instinct of always wanting to help and let the person go, sometimes into their own misery. And I know it hurts when you kind of see that. You know, you kind of gave this person advice. I had it with a friend recently where she was just complaining about one of her business things. And I'm like, well, if you just kind of built up, you know, this and that, and they're like, oh, thank you. And then she didn't do it at all, or she did the opposite even. But, you know, it's their own. And then she keeps posting on Facebook being like, oh, people hate me because of this and that. You know, she kind of puts it on her skin color because she's Black as well. She's like, oh, white people hate Black people. I'm like, you know, you're still in such a victim mentality when you're really not seeing how much you could actually improve with simple things. But I mean, it goes into one ear, out the next. And that's just a typical scenario we might all experience, right? Everyone needs to learn their lesson, and all this is part of their own journey. I myself had to recently let go of a lot of the old conditioning because it was physically affecting my body. You know, my entire back actually felt like it was carrying a burden so humongous. I knew it could not possibly be all mine. And I also started noticing my words hitting on deaf ears and the people around me. And I just saw it as a message that they're just not really my tribe anymore, which is also perfectly fine. And by this, I mean more like my friends or people I considered my friends. Our soul will give us signs along the way, and physical symptoms are a crucial part of it. I might talk about that in a different post, though. All right, so I hope this helped you. And I know it was a bit of a back and forth. I'm just trying to read notes that I wrote a few months ago. Thank you so much for your patience, and see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Have a good one.